All right, it is 4:30. I'll call the meeting to order. Acknowledge that the District of Tofino operates within the territory of the local First Nation, Q&amp. Everybody. Notice to attendees that the meeting is being video recorded and will be published on the District of Tofino's YouTube channel. Notice to virtual attendees to sign up for the public comment and question period using the Q&A function in Zoom. To register, participants are required to enter their full name, residential address, and the agenda item to speak to. Through unanimous consent, if there are no objections, I move that pursuant to Section 15 of the District of Tofino Meeting Procedure Bylaw number 1229/2016 is amended the April 1st, 2025 regular council meeting be held electronically via Zoom and live broadcasted on the District of Tofino's YouTube channel, and that the facility provided for the public to watch and hear the meeting be located at the Tla-o-qui-aht Sound Theatre, 380 Campbell Street in Tofino, BC. Seeing no objections, that motion is carried. Also, through unanimous consent, if there are no objections, I move that the April 1st, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be adopted. Seeing no objections, that motion is carried. And moving on to the consent agenda. Yes, Councillor.
I will request that we take item 4.3 and consider that separately, please.
Great. Do we need a motion to remove that separately?
Yes.
Yes, we do. Okay. I'll move that item 4.3 be removed from the consent agenda. Thomas, all in favor? Unopposed, motion carried. Then I will read out the amended consent agenda. I'll move that item from the chair through unanimous consent. If there are no objections, I'll move that item 4.1 to 4.2 of the consent agenda on the regular council meeting held April 1st, 2025 be approved and received. Seeing no objections, that motion is carried. Now, where are we going to put this?
It needs to be amended. In the minutes of the meeting from March 11th, there was a petition submitted by C. Rendcrow, and it does not meet the requirements laid out in the community charter for admission as a petition, nor does it meet the requirements laid out on the District of Tofino's website for submitting a petition. So it should be removed and should not have come across our tables.
Okay, just looking over to corporate services. Sure.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas, for the comment. Yeah, happy to look into that and get back to you.
Perhaps what we can do is we can defer. Can we defer this, the adoption of this minutes of the regular council meeting held March 11th until such time as corporate services returns with it again. Okay, well, so what I'll do is I'll move that the adoption of the, or do we have to do that, or can we just move on?
I would defer it.
Through motion?
Through motion.
Okay, I will move that the minutes of the regular council meeting held March 11th, 2025 be deferred until such time as corporate services returns addressing Councillor Thomas's concerns with the petition. Seconded by Councillor Thomas. Any further comments? All in favor? None opposed, motion carried. Moving on to the mayor's report. I only have one thing on my report, and now that we're in federal elections, our previous member of Parliament, Gord Johns, who has served the region for 9 years, of course, there's an election right now, so that spot's vacant. But I do want to take the time to recognize the tremendous work that Gord Johns has done for our community and for our region. Just from a note that we got that in the 9 years that Gord Johns has been our MP and represented us in Ottawa, he has lobbied for over $18 million in housing funding for Tofino, including almost 1.5, close to 1.5 conditionally funded. Somewhere around 32 million for our local infrastructure, including the wastewater treatment plant. I know that Gordo also lobbied quite hard for the Biosphere Center, 7.1 million, and the Tla-o-qui-aht Sound Community Theatre, which we are sitting in this lovely new theatre, 248,000. And I know Gordon had a hand in lobbying for that. It's another 748 for Strip Canada. as well as other regional investments the federal government has generously granted to our town and region. So tremendous work. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with Mr. Johns. Gordo. Public comment on agenda items. Ms. Pelchat.
Thank you, Mayor Law. I will now make an open call for comments. For those in the gallery who wish to speak, please raise your hand. If there is anyone attending online via Zoom that would like to make a comment, you can do so now using the Q&A function. Before making a comment, you will need to state your name, your address, and the agenda item you are speaking to. I will now do a call calling once, calling twice, calling 3 times. There is no one signed up for comments.
Super. Thank you, Ms. Pelchat. Then we're moving right on to delegations. We have one community delegation from Mr. Lewis representing the Tla-o-qui-aht Action in regards to the source control bylaw regulation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today about some concerns around the wastewater treatment plant. I'll just walk you through. And the points I'm making here today are lifted directly from our submission that we made as part of the public consultation. So the DFO did a marine risk assessment for Chinook on the west coast of Vancouver Island, and it reports that farm salmon pathogens, including PRV, are very high risk for wild Chinook salmon in Tla-o-qui-aht Sound. This was partly done through the Tla-o-qui-aht Salmon Roundtable, which I'm a part of. So of all regions in British Columbia, open net pen salmon farms on the west coast of the island carry the largest potential to harm Chinook salmon because west coast Chinook spend their entire life close to shore. So they go in all the bays, all the inlets as they work their way north to the Pacific. They're always in close to shore near where all the salmon farms are sited. And therefore, the report determined that the west coast of the island is a pathogen hotspot for Chinook. I should mention Chinook salmon are in very dire straits. The Upper Kennedy River had 1 Chinook coming back last year and 1 Chinook coming back in 2023. That is a pathway to extinction. PRV, by the way, is Piscine orthoreovirus. It's a virus that came from Norway in the eggs from the salmon farms. And the intensity of PRV is higher in effluent from a processing plant than it is right beside a fish farm. The reason for that is that the prevalence of PRV increases as the fish age. And by the time, so basically 97% of the fish in a farm, when they're adults, 97% of the fish will be infected. And since the processing plants are receiving the most mature and thus the most infected life stage of the fish, it's not surprising that the effluent from farm salmon processing plants is tested for shown positive for high concentrations of PRV. Research published by DFO and others reports that PRV appears to cause the red blood cells of Chinook salmon to explode. So this is a very serious concern. PRV is one of the top 3 pathogens of concern. It's not the only one. There's also a bacteria called Tenacibaculum and cutthroat trout virus as well. A DFO study of the effluent from the Browns Bay Packing Company in 2022 found that while the wastewater treatment reduced the amount of PRV 100-fold, the effluent still contained enough infectious PRV to infect juvenile salmon. 50 to 60, so half to 2/3 of those young salmon, when they were immersed in the effluent, became infected with PRV. This study confirmed that PRV is viable and infectious even after sewage treatment. Discharge from farm salmon processing plants is a high risk of adverse impact on wild salmon. And there's no evidence that a method has been devised and put into use that is capable of deactivating waterborne fish pathogens from processing from the plants. There are many threats to wild salmon, but the effluent from a point source like a fish processing plant is one that can be removed. We have control over that. Our review of the bylaw indicates that it is substandard from the standpoint of providing adequate protection to the marine environment. And we note a number of serious deficiencies. These are not all of them. But discharges of wastewater from fish processing plants are not adequately defined or restricted by the bylaw as currently written. The bylaw does not provide for the pre-treatment of industrial discharges to the system as required under the municipal wastewater regulations. And the distinction between prohibited waste, restricted waste, and other matter in sections 4.1 and 4.2 of the bylaw are unclear. So that creates potential loopholes and problems with enforceability. There are no criteria or factors constraining or guiding the exercise of the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works' discretion to issue a wastewater discharge permit under section 5.1. This exposes the district to potential legal challenges where an applicant could argue that they're entitled to a permit. There are no provisions in the bylaw mandating proactive public disclosure of monitoring, sampling, and reporting results. And the monitoring and sampling provisions in sections 7 and 8 of the bylaw are not connected with the provisions governing permit conditions at section 5, creating a risk that responsibility and costs of monitoring, sampling, and reporting will be incurred by the district and its taxpayers rather than by the permit holders. Based on the foregoing, we are requesting that the mayor and council direct staff to prepare amendments to the bylaw to address these deficiencies as described above, substantially increase the degree of environmental protection, limit the district's legal and financial liability, and reduce harm to wild Pacific salmon from the discharge of pathogens from Tofino's sewage plant. That is it.
Super, thank you very much. Yeah, I know, I understand, Mr. Kirkland has been working on this. We're in this, but when is the public consultation process over?
Through the chair, I believe it was ended at the end of March or today. Yeah, today. Yeah.
Okay, so I take it that you are well aware of this, these arguments, and you're taking them into account, and I'm sure you'll bring back answers. Do you have anything to share with council today, or should we wait for that process to come back to council at a good time?
Through the chair, I think we would wait for the process to come back, and all of this is received for feedback through the public consultation process, and we'll take it all into consideration when we come back to, when staff come back to council for the second reading.
Sure, super, thank you very much. I got a couple questions for, actually, we're gonna hold up, we'll wait for that, so we'll wait for the public consultation and the process to come back to council. I understand you're gonna be back as well, so.
I'll be back.
Great, thanks very much.
Yeah. I would just quickly say that this issue is more important than I realized when we began the research.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Correspondence, moving on, 9.1, Association of Vancouver Island Coastal Communities regarding feedback requested forming the Local Government Act, a roadmap. I believe there's a request in here for our participation. Councillor Steer.
Yeah, thank you through the chair. Yeah, I did want to just touch on that. It is, I think, important for council to take a look at that survey. There is a link to it in the correspondence. The work around legislative reform around this, I think, is important to have the implications of it. And if you could take the time, it would be much appreciated. I know that. So.
Great, and then each councillor can fill out that survey.
Absolutely, yeah.
Dawn Lidstone is leading that. Great. Members of the public regarding stop the dumping of Cermac's toxic blood water. I think we just had a fairly comprehensive presentation.
Can I make a comment? Not on the subject of the letter. This is going to be just where you see where it says recipients received. I keep getting emails. There's something that's scraping the web and putting in Sarah's middle name as my middle name. And so it's happened with this, and I'm not sure. I've been trying to track it down for 2 years now, and I haven't been able to. I'm only addressing it now because sometimes things end up in my junk folder, or I've been reading these ones, of course, like I can see Cermak, I know this is local and that, but sometimes things come through and I'm like, oh, it's been scraped off the internet. I don't necessarily give it the same
Oh.
consideration. In this case, I have. I know what this is, but I don't know how we can solve that, or if that's just how it's going to be for the next year and a half. I'm sorry, not relevant. to
Tatiana?
the stuff.
That's through the chair to Councillor Thomas. We can have staff look into that for you.
Sure, yeah.
Great.
Great.
All right, any other comments on stop the dumping of Cermak's toxic blood water? I actually had a question for maybe concerning this. There's a couple of fish plants in town. Is Cermak the only one that's tied into our sewage treatment plant?
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct.
And what happens to the blood water from the other one?
My understanding through the chair is that the other company has a permit with the Ministry of Environment and operates their own effluent outfall.
I see. Thank you. Okay, moving on to presentations and reports. We have 10.1 accessible parking spaces. Rogers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Today I'll be giving you a brief presentation on accessible parking. This is related to resolution of council earlier this year. To get into it, in Tofino, we have 21 accessible stalls. They are located here in the downtown core, so you can see they're spread out throughout the community, and also at some of our beach locations as well. Just to give us a bit of a context of what we're talking about. In undertaking this research, we came up with the two options that council provided to us, and then have basically gone to option one, which allow us to operate this program with our current parking consultants. So why option one? There are similar programs on the island that Robbins is already dealing with. And what they do is they undertake a visual inspection of each accessible stall on foot. It's pretty straightforward, easy to implement, and won't change anything in terms of our contract. If the customer does receive a ticket, they can contact Robbins to provide proof the ticket is to be cancelled. I can add a little bit of color to this last point. I was parking at BC Ferries the other day, and my youngest daughter, who's an adult, gave me the wrong license number. So I picked up the phone and I phoned, and they got rid of it on the spot. It's amazing. Great service. Option two, significant effort will require us tracking all vehicles on foot instead of with license plate recognition vehicle. And so the staff recommendation is option one, and we can consider new stalls as required, or as we get complaints or comments or suggestions, we can look to add new stalls.
Great. I think option one's great. Now, I know that Councillor McMaster does have a query.
Yeah, I mean, option one's a bit of a no-brainer, but I wondered if we could do both. I'm in favour of accessible parking everywhere, and I hadn't thought about this until I read your second bullet point on the discussion, where you said if the customer receives a ticket because they forgot to display their permit, they can contact Robbins and provide proof to have their ticket cancelled. So why couldn't we just say, if you get a ticket, if you parked in another spot, and contact Robbins to get your ticket cancelled? I mean, I don't expect the guy to go manually check every car, but I mean, if somebody just happened to go into another spot and they have an accessible permit, could we not have it so that they could contact Robbins and say, excuse me, I have a permit?
So just saying, like, if someone parked outside an accessible spot, they parked the one next door because someone else had parked there, and they had a placard and got a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that would happen, but if I'm sure Robbins is very easy, we can give them that direction, just in conversation with them.
I mean, I even wondered if Robbins could write something on the ticket, the issue saying, if you have a accessible permit and you can appeal this, etc.
Yeah, and definitely they can add stuff to the tickets and I can have like an initial conversation with Robbins about it. But they're very reasonable, like, you know, if they notice something happening, they tend to address it right away. And I say this because this is what this is something Robbins works with parking across the island. And it seems like the system works, but I can bring these comments forward and.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me that would be a good way. Number one, you police the accessible parking spots, and secondly, you're allowing accessible parking in all the spots. And I doubt whether they would get very many. I mean, I'd glad to hear if they did.
Okay. I can definitely have that conversation with them.
So do we need to defer this till the report back to us?
Can we, why don't we just adopt recommendation 1, and then we can make another motion if we want to. We can just direct Mr. Rogers to make that inquiry. It's not an active enforcement. It's more of a clause in the fine process or fee payment or fine payment process, which would allow a person with placard to get their ticket canceled. Makes sense, easy. But why don't we just do the first motion and then direct you to do that and come back and see if it's possible? Does that make sense? Yes. Councilor
My
Master?
voice is going, so you can do it, Kat.
Oh, sure. I move that District of Tofino Traffic and Parking Regulation Amendment Bylaw number 1091.11/2025 be read at first, second, and third time.
Second.
Okay, second by Councilor Master. Any further comments? Council, seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. Excellent. Essential worker MOU report from community services. Well, we have no report. Mr. Rogers is available for comments. This is pretty straightforward. Housekeeping, Councilor Steer, you have a
I
comment?
can just move.
Okay,
That's okay. Yeah, that the staff be authorized to execute the essential worker housing memorandum of understanding between District of Tofino and Tofino Housing Corporation attached as Appendix 1. The staff report titled Essential Worker Housing MOU dated April 1st, 2025.
second by Mr. Thomas. Any further comment or second? Too late. Too late. But you can make a comment.
No comment.
No comment. Okay, then in that case, I'll call the question. All in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. Moving on to 10.3, we have another memorandum of understanding, again, with no report, but this is the Vancouver Island Regional Library, District of Tofino and Tofino Housing Corporation. Yeah. Library built some housing.
I have a comment.
Sure.
I think there's a slight discrepancy in the language between the staff report and the MOU. In a sense, the staff report, I've got it written down. Staff report under the discussion section says new library with 20 to 30 affordable rental housing. As the MOU says, including affordable and rental housing with development. So I think the language needs to be consistent because at the moment I don't see 20 to 30 affordable units in this plan unless there's some funding comes from somewhere else. As I think the MOU implies that it could be rental or market. So I'd just like to see a change to the staff report to rectify that language so it's consistent.
Right, Councilor Master, would you like the staff report change or the MOU? What is the?
I'd like the staff report change. I think the MOU is correct by using the terms affordable and rental, whereas the staff report just uses affordable rental.
Affordable rental. So we're missing the and.
And yeah.
Affordable rental and rental. Comments from staff?
Through the chair, I think the recommendation is about executing and approving or authorizing the MOU attached as appendix 1. I think what staff did is they forgot to include the word "and" in the staff report. So procedurally, we'll just have a look after today's council meeting to see how we would update for the record, the report, to make sure that the word "and" is included in the report. I think it's fairly administrative. There's nothing required of council here at the meeting. So I think that won't be a problem at all, and the motion is focused on approving the MOU as attached, which has the correct language.
Okay, so we're not moving to receive the staff report. We're just moving the MOU.
Yeah, prior to the minutes being adopted, we'll include the correct version of the.
Okay, Councilor Master, you're happy with the MOU link?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go for, would somebody like to read this, unless there's other comments from council, last chance, seeing none, would somebody like to read the recommendation?
Okay.
Sure.
I move that staff be authorized to execute the memorandum of understanding between the District of Tofino, Vancouver Island Regional Library, the Tofino Housing Corporation, attached as Appendix 1 to the staff report titled Memorandum of Understanding VIRL, District of Tofino and Tofino Housing Corporation, dated April 1st, 2025.
Second. Oh, gosh, I think I'm gonna give that to you, Councilor Anderson.
Councilor Thomas, please.
Beat you last time. We'll give it to Councilor Anderson. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, motion is carried. No bylaws, no unfinished business. Do we have any business initiated by council members? Councilor Sloman, then Councilor Thomas.
So I went to the March 25th, me along with some other councillors went to the Tourism Tofino annual general meeting at the Tinwis Conference Center. Immediately after the meeting, we had a board meeting where new board members were welcomed, and Tiffany Olson will be the chair for a one-year term. Ryan Orr will be vice chair, and Maria Clark is secretary treasurer for a one-year term.
Great. That's great. Super duper. Great, Councilor Thomas.
I wanted to share that on Friday, April 11th, the district's High Ground Hike is taking place. So it's in advance of Tsunami Preparedness Week. It's been shared across the district social media, but you can also go to tofino.ca/highgroundhike and register to volunteer. The gathering starts at 9 a.m. and then the hiking starts at 10. You'll carry a small GPS, follow the evacuation route, gather at the community center, which is our gathering space for emergencies. There's going to be a simulated tsunami evacuation, seismic event, emergency operations, tabletop exercise, and a seismic event workshop. I've already signed up and volunteered. I know some counselors will be away that weekend, but hopefully we'll have a broad participation from the public.
Super. I love the High Ground Hike because I have a camping gear fetish, and it's a great excuse to go buy some more camping gear. So get your backpack, fill it up for the High Ground Hike. Okay, super. Anything else? Business initiated by council members? None. Question period, Ms. Tla-o-qui-aht.
I will now make an open call for questions. For those in the gallery who wish to speak, please raise your hand. If there is anyone attending online via Zoom that would like to ask a question, you can do so now using the Q&A function. Before asking a question, you will need to state your name, your address, and the agenda item you are speaking to. I will now do a call calling once, calling twice, calling 3 times. No questions for you.
Super, great. Then we're moving right into the closed session. A counselor like to read the closed session recommendation. Too late. Okay, I'll move that the meeting closed in public consent sections 9(1)(a), C, A, and L of the Community Charter to discuss matters related to personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality, labor relations or other employee relations, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of municipal service that are at preliminary stages and that in review of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality or the health of the public. Discussions with municipal officers and employees respecting municipal objectives, measures, and progress for the purpose of preparing an annual report under Section 98 Annual Municipal Report. Seconder. Councillor Spear. All in favor? Great. We're going to take 5 minutes.